Hello, true duelists. My name, as always, is Craig Fee, and welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. The last of the reveals of new cards from Power of the Elements have at last come, so bear with me, folks, as it's going to be another long one. Starting first with a new Icejade card. That's right, the worst archetype from Burst of Destiny has yet another monster. Creation Agricocasis, or I'm not even going to try. Can equip itself from the hand or grave to an Icejade monster you control and give it 400 attack for each banished monster. It also can summon itself to the field while it's treated as an equip spell. Seems pretty solid, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I've read a single other Icejade card in my entire life. I just assume they're all bad as I imagine them to be, and that this card won't do much of anything for the archetype. Sorry to all 4 Icejade players in existence. Branded continues to get support with a new Albaz monster. Quite literally, Albaz of the Ashes is treated as Fallen of a Baz on the field or in the graveyard, and if there's a level 8 fusion monster in your grave, it will gain 200 attack for each monster in your graveyard. It also makes other monsters you control untargetable by card effects from the opponent, and if a monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, while both this card and a fusion monster are in your grave, you can special summon it. Not great, not terrible, I suppose. Probably also not going to see play. There's also a new continuous spell called Branded Central Dogmatica, with effects depending on if you ritual or fusion summon. If you summon exactly one ritual monster with the effect of a spell card, you can look at either player's extra deck and send one card to the graveyard. And if you fusion summon exactly one fusion monster with a spell card, you can give that fusion attack equal to its original attack until the end of the turn. But it can only attack an attack position monster the opponent controls. Thankfully, the new good deck isn't getting another broken card, if only so that I don't have to go buy an expensive secret rare if it gets that kind of a rarity bump. Lastly revealed for the Branded this week is Branded Division, a normal trap that tributes a fusion monster, then targets 2 monsters in either graveyard or banished that are not fusion monsters, and special summons 1 to each player's field. But if you tributed a fusion that lists Fallen of a Baz as material, you can summon them both to your field in defense position. If you're wondering if any of the new Albaz cards are good here, it's this one. Kurikara, Avatar of the Immovable, or whatever the TCG will name it, because I doubt that's sticking, is the new fire attribute non-pyro hand trap of sorts? Not quite. It's a level 1 generic anime girl, but also a dragon, so at least it's got that going for it. It cannot be normal summoned or set, and has to be summoned by tributing all face-up monsters on the field that have activated an effect in an opponent's monster zone. It will gain 1500 attack for each monster tributed to summon it, and during your end phase, you can target a monster in the opponent's graveyard and summon it to your field. Will it be good? Only after your opponent has negated everything else with the monsters on the field, so sort of. Probably, my prediction, slightly overpriced secret rare that will see less play than I want to, based on the fact that I'll probably end up buying it, because I have an addiction. A new archetype of mainly dark aqua monsters, fan translated as Tearalaments, has been revealed, each of the main deck monsters having an effect when sent to the grave by card effect. Starting first with Reinoheart, it foolishes a Tearalaments monster when normal or special summoned, and when sent to the grave can summon itself. If summoned this way, it is banished when it leaves the field, and you'll have to send one Tearalaments monster from your hand to the grave. Not a bad thing. Haufenis, probably not how you pronounce that either, can summon itself from hand when an opponent's monster activates an effect on the field, and then mill the top 3 cards of your deck. Miru can mill 3 when normal or special summoned, and Shaylin can special summon itself from the hand, and if you do, send 1 monster from your hand to the grave and mill 3 cards from your deck. All 3 of these have the same graveyard effect, that is to fusion summon a fusion monster by returning the materials from your hand, field, or grave to the bottom of the deck in any order, including themselves. They have 2 fusions fittingly enough. Kit Kalos needs any Tearalaments and an Aqua, with 3 effects. If special summoned, it can take any Tearalement card and either add it to the hand or send it to the grave, and if it is sent to the grave by a card effect, will mill 5 cards from your deck. It also can target 1 monster you control, summon a Tearalaments monster from the grave or hand, and then if you do, send the targeted monster to the grave. Kaleido Heart is the big fusion and needs specifically Reno Heart and any 2 Aqua monsters. It cannot be used as fusion material and has 2 effects. If summoned, or if another Aqua monster is sent to the grave by card effect, you can target 1 monster the opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. And if it's sent to the grave by a card effect, it can summon itself and foolish 1 Tearalaments card from the deck to the grave. Infinite floating from the giant octopus girl. Thematic. So far they have 1 field spell revealed and 3 traps. The field spell, when resolved, adds 1 Tearalaments monster or Visage Starfrost from deck to hand. It gives all your Tearalaments monsters 500 attack, and once per turn, if a Tearalaments monster is returned from the field or grave to the deck or extra deck, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Pretty standard field spell, I suppose, just solid to have. The traps all need you to control either a Tearalaments monster or Visage Starfrost in order to be able to use them. Starting first, Meta Noise is a normal trap that Book of Moons an opponent's monster and then foolishes a Tearalaments monster from your deck. And if sent to the grave by card effect, targets 1 Tearalaments monster in the grave and adds it to your hand. Salic is a continuous trap that can target an effect monster the opponent controls and negate its effects, and then send 1 monster you control to the graveyard. Also, if sent to the grave by card effect, it adds a Tearalaments monster from your deck to your hand. The counter trap negates a spell or trap card or monster effect and then shuffles it into the deck, then sends 1 monster from your hand to the grave. And if it's sent to the grave by card effect, can return a banished Tearalament to your hand. Seems like a very solid start to an archetype. Milling for effects and essentially getting free fusion monsters seems like a solid start to a deck. And apparently Visage Starfrost is the new lore boy. Step aside, Albaz. This guy's a part of like 16 decks too, probably. Melffy also got support in what is the single most important piece of news this decade. Melffy Sealy is a tuner monster with 2 effects. If a face-up beast monster or monsters you control other than Melffy Sealy was returned to the hand this turn, you can quick effect special summon it from your hand and immediately on resolution, synchro summon using only Sealy and other Melffys in your hand. Also, during the end phase, if it is in the graveyard, it can attach itself to a beast-type Xyz monster you control as material. Just the perfect card. Perfect. Wallaby has the same end phase summon a hand effect as most other Melffys do, and if the opponent normal or special summons the monsters, or if it's targeted for an attack, can return itself to the hand, then summon 2 differently named Melffys from your deck, other than Wallaby. 12 out of 10, another perfect card. Cheerful Melffys is the new Synchro, a level 4 Synchro with generic materials. If special summoned, it can target and bounce 1 monster on the field, and if the opponent normal or special summons a monster or targets it for an attack, it can return itself to the extra deck and summon 1 Melffy Xyz monster from the extra deck. Melffy bears and penguins on this card. Another perfect one, I can't believe it. And lastly for Melffy is a new continuous spell, Melffy Staring Contest. You can reveal 1 beast monster in your hand to add a Melffy monster from your deck or grave to hand with a different name from the revealed monster and place the revealed monster on the bottom of your deck. Melffy Small World. Kinda. Don't worry, there's more. You can also, during the opponent's battle phase, reveal any number of Melffy monsters in your hand, and then monsters your opponent controls will lose attack equal to the combined attack of Melffys revealed by this effect. The single greatest card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And even an accurate effect to card name ratio. The Melffys are all staring at you, just daring you to attack them. The greatest way to improve card design is to simply zoom in on the cute monsters, and this card art clearly does that tenfold. I fucking love this card, dude. Best art I've seen in a while. Other new cards from Power of the Elements include a new Charmer, a Sua, the Earth Channeler, who is always treated as a charmer. It can discard itself and another Earth monster to add from deck to hand a monster with 1500 attack whose type is the same as either of the monsters discarded for this effect, and locks you into activating only Earth monsters effects for the turn. It can also summon itself from hand when an Earth monster is destroyed by battle. This is a slightly more restricted version of the wind version of this card, which can search out any wind monster as opposed to one of a specific type according to what you discarded. This is actually a good thing, as it means the inevitable light and dark versions of this will also be restricted as they will need to be, because otherwise those two will be broken as all hell. Grand Ground Tusk Dragon is the new level 8 dragon who, if normal or special, pops up to 2 cards on the field and then gains 600 attack for each. The float off Giant Rat players in 2006 wanted more than anything. Or a cheeky further bit of disruption when summoned using Heretic Spheres. Or possibly both. You can absolutely play a 2022 card in a 2006 deck. Just know that almost everyone else will be complaining that you are cheating. Because you will be. Moving on, there's also a new generic counter trap, Dragon King's Aura. When the opponent activates a monster effect on field, negate and destroy that card, then you can apply the following effect. To banish 1 monster from your hand, and if you do, special summon the destroyed monster to your field with its effects negated. An interesting sort of fusion of both Solemn Strike and Ice Dragon's Prison in a way, but is it worth playing over either of them? Maybe. Will it be worth the price when it inevitably gets printed as a secret rare? Probably not. And now we're just going to rapid fire these last 8 cards that were revealed literally 30 minutes before I started filming. Flame Buddy Erica summons a monster from either player spell and trap zone to the field on summon, and on field can equip itself to a monster as a spell to give it 500 attack. The worst possible piece of support for Therians, or a better card for Crystal Beasts than 5 of their 8 core monsters. You'll have to be the ones to tell me. A new rank 3 Xyz needing 3 or more level 3 monsters with 2100 attack that can attack a number of times equal to its Xyz materials that gains 200 attack at the start of the damage step. And once per turn can detach a material to negate and destroy a monster that activates its effect. That's right, folks. That's PK support. Nothing else. Evil Awakening Master Knight Melt, who I hope keeps its name, contribute a monster to summon 1 from deck with the same attribute, type, level, attack, and defense, but with a different name. What deck can use this? I don't even think Gizmek can, so I don't know. I do not know. But you can also summon a monster from the extra deck if you tribute a monster summoned from the extra deck. So I suppose this might be decent in Pendulum, maybe? I don't know. I'll find out when another Yugi tuber informs me that it's actually the most broken thing ever. Moving on, this adorable little guy can be discarded during your main phase to gain an extra normal summon of an Earth or Water attribute monster. And if you control both an Earth and Water attribute monster, can summon itself from the grave, but is banished when it leaves the field. This might be a horrible piece of support for both my Adamancipator and Mermail decks, or it might just be a disappointment. Either way, if it weren't cute, it would be completely useless. Propagandake is a Propa mess, able to declare 1 type from either rock, plant, insect, or beast, and then make itself that type, and if that effect resolves, makes all other face-up monsters on the field become that type as well, and then makes all monsters you control of that type untargetable by the opponent's monster's effects. Is this good? No. It is an E-Telly target, which might be notable for your Zodiac matchups. Drident is still a card after all. If that doesn't make this card niche, I don't know what will. Unlimited free radio jamming makes all monsters on the field lose 1000 attack for each 1000 attack it has during the damage calculation, and does the same thing for defense if they have any. Also, if destroyed, it makes all monsters lose 1000 attack and 1000 defense for each 1000 they have. If that effect is confusing to you, basically it means the last 3 digits of the attack value will be all that matters. If it has 1900 attack, it'll go down to 900. If it has 2900 attack, it'll go down to 900. If that's still confusing to you, don't worry, this card sucks and will not see play anywhere, bar maybe a progression series that you are watching or taking part in which case, I'm sorry that is one of the good cards you pulled in the like 87th set in this game's history. Surrendered from Overroot is a trap card that targets 2 cards in the opponent's possession, 1 they control and 1 in their grave. It sends the 1 on field to the graveyard and then sets the 1 in grave onto their field. A cute bit of removal, hilarious if you use it on a morphing jar in the opponent's graveyard, and otherwise completely forgettable. And the final card from Power of the Elements, Twin Dust Trunade, a trap that targets any number of your own set, spell, and traps, then bounces itself and those cards to your hand, and allows you to set as many spell and trap as you bounced back onto the field. an endless way to dodge back row removal that's severely hindered by the fact that the card set will not be able to be used that turn, meaning Feather Duster will ultimately accomplish its goals for the turn, allowing them to set up the big board of negates without any interruption, even though you'll have the card still on the field. I suppose that is technically better, but seeing as how the opponent gets their board uninterrupted, I really doubt this card will be in high demand. And at long last, we got the effect for the new Power Tool Dragon. Power Tool Braver Dragon, which for my fellow liberals we all know as Power Tool Racister Dragon, can equip 3 equip spells from deck to itself if special summoned, and can quick effect during the main phase, send an equip spell equipped to itself to the grave to target one monster on the field and either change its battle position or negate its effects until the end of the turn. This sort of card is only as good as the equips it can get, and unfortunately for it, the best equip spells in the game are the ones that revive or steal monsters, and not the ones that give buffs to the monsters they're equipped to. So, not that good, which is a shame because it is a cool card. Oh well. There was also the new V-Jump monster that only had its art revealed. Nothing is for certain, but if I was a betting man, I would tell you that this is support for the new Ishizu cards, based solely on the fact that it looks Egyptian. This month's V-Jump promo will come with 3 other promos as well, who have been named, namely Pharaonic Guardian, Gravekeeper's Engraving, and Apophis the Deity of the Swamp. Deity of the Swamp? Yeah, you know, just share if you play Gravekeepers. That's the real joke here. For the TCG, fans of the Crystal Beasts can be excited, as it's been confirmed they will be getting a structure deck for us, and not broken up and put into a separate set. The same cannot be said for the Agent structure deck, who in leaks has been confirmed to have its cards imported in Ghosts from the Past 2. Yes, full leaks from the set have dropped, and Yugi tubers have begun to open their early review sets of it, and now we know what's coming in the set. Aside from the aforementioned Agent cards, there's also imports for Code Talkers, the Salamangreat Rank 4 Xyz, reprints of Gigamantis, the Tenyis, DDD cards, generators, a plethora of the Vanilla Fusions, and the Zombie World Structure Deck cards. And also apparently some of the Fossil cards. Exciting stuff, especially with the other great reprints like Hulk and Aluber being announced previously. I think it's safe to say this set looks a lot better than the original Ghosts from the Past. And my green screen fell again. I'm gonna eat a donut. I'm gonna shoot a man in the abdomen and tell him that I didn't do it on purpose, and then see if it holds up in the court of law. I'm losing my mind. In community news, the Progression series dropped again with Dark Beginning 1, the first ever reprint set in the Progression series. After pulling himself a copy of Snatch Steal, Magician of Faith, Dust Tornado, and Call of the Haunted, as well as other great cards, Gage decided to, in the most Gage thing imaginable, re-roll for better cards. And for his greed, he was rewarded with literally nothing. I think the only things he got were Dust Tornadoes, so a horrible mistake, and quite possibly just the epitome of Gage throughout the Progression series. Simo, on the other hand, didn't fare much better, also doing a reroll and also really only getting Dust Tornadoes and Call the Haunted, which makes the tremendously hyped first reprint set of the Progression series tremendously underwhelming. Hilariously though, Gage did pull a copy of Delinquent Duo after banning it. Sucks to suck. The game was ultimately yet another Chaos Mirror, won out by Gage yet again. The series score is now 4-9 in favor of Gage, who will lose another card to Simo's ban after a 3-week losing streak. Amazing. Also this week, YouTuber and streamer MBT has summoned the beasts of cancel culture yet again, getting the list of female cards culled down to only list cards that Shadow of Eyes and Zombie Stein interact with, because apparently they do that. I was tremendously ignorant to that fact and really could not care less about this list being removed. That said, if it can help to make any girls or just anyone else more comfortable about playing this game, I am all for it. Learning that it existed is one of the countless reasons that the people who play this game should have mandatory visits to the outdoors. And I would say, you know, mandatory talking to a woman or a girl at least once a week, but I have seen some of the people that play this game, and I don't think that we should force them to interact with any girl that wouldn't want to interact with them. So I'm not going to make that joke. And so that is it for this week's update. As always, I'm your host, Craig Fee. Make sure you subscribe to YGO Strats for next week's update, and so that you too can become a true duelist.